Hi, Josh here, and you're watching 610 Garage. Learn it, build it, teach it. In this episode, we start the swing link by turning down the housing. And if you don't know what a swing link is, go watch my last video. But it's basically an arm to fix my steering problems. I start out with some round stock. I believe this measures about 3.5 inches. I then turn down the outside to 3.4 inches. This will not only give me a square place to grip the rod in my chuck, but it will also remove all of that rust. After I cut down the rod on the bandsaw, I square up the face. I am boring out this dimension first since it is the smallest. Then I will bore out the bearing and the O-ring seats. I start with a drill bit, then I move to a boring bar. And now for the bearing seats. One of the nice features of my lathe is the auto feed stop. This stops the feed on the carriage when it gets to a certain point. I score the end of the seats by using marking fluid and a caliper. I then set the automatic carriage stop and finally set tool depth to the line I had just marked in the marking fluid. And then I bore some more. Besides boring myself to death, I am boring these bearing seats out to the interference fit of FN5. I don't know if that's right. I couldn't find any recommendations for half spherical plane type bearings, but I'm doing it anyway. Interference fits have tight tolerances, so I hone the bearing seats to get the dimensions as close to perfect as possible. I then flip the housing around, cut it to the exact length, and finish boring the other side. I also bore the O-ring seat, but I can't tell what boring video that is. The housing, me, and you guys are all bored out. So let's start working on the end cap. First, I face some rod, most of which you can't see because the stupid light is in the way. Then I cut the rod to length. Yup, I'm not turning the outside, at least not yet. You'll see. I place the housing into the mill and center the mill to the center of the housing. I did this with the help of a coaxial indicator. Simple tool, but fun to say. Did I say fun? I meant hard. Hard to say. Then I superglue the end cap to the housing. You heard right, I attached the end cap to the housing with the use of superglue. This is a trick I picked up watching ClickSpring's YouTube channel. What I am doing is temporarily attaching the end cap to the housing. That allows me to drill the bolt holes in both the end cap and the housing. And because it is held on with just superglue, all that is required to remove the end cap from the housing is a little heat. Then I can finish drilling and tap the housing without re-indexing the mill. This also assures that everything will line up properly. With the housing still indexed in the mill, and all of the bolt holes tapped, I mount the end cap with 2 bolts. I then add slots so that the bolts can countersink into the end cap. I was having some issues with getting the bolts in. Besides drilling out the holes in the end cap a little more, I beveled the holes in the housing. This will guide the bolt right into the hole. I beveled the hole with a larger drill bit, off the mill and into the lathe. As one assembly, I chuck the housing and end cap. This allows me to turn the entire outside of the end cap in one operation without the need to rechuck. This gives a smoother finish. It also allows me to turn the end cap to the exact dimension of the housing. And it's safer. There's not a lot of space here to chuck the end cap securely. And then I bore the end cap. This will make room for the nut that will be sitting inside the end cap. And the housing is done. Next video, I will be giving the swing link the shaft. No, literally, I will be giving the swing link a shaft. I'll be making the shaft and installing it into the swing link, thereby just watch it.